Since we've learned about bag of words as one way to convert text into a numerical vector, and we have seen variations of bag of words using n-grams, right? Using all pre-processing, using all the pre-processing steps, right? And we also saw the variations of bag of words like binary bag of words, etc. Now let's understand a slightly different and interesting variation of bag of words called TF-IDF. Here TF stands for term frequency. I'll explain you what term frequency means in a while. IDF stands for inverse document frequency. I'll again explain you what inverse document frequency means. Let's try to understand this with an example. Imagine I have reviews or documents, right? R1, R2, R3, so on and so forth, R capital N, right? Here I have N documents or N reviews in our case, right? Which are all text. And let's assume each review is basically a combination of words. So let's assume that R1 has basically word W1, W2, W3, W2, and W5. Let's assume it has 5 words. Similarly, at R2, let's assume has W1, W3, W4, W5, W6, and W2. Now, how do we write it in bag of words? How many words exist here? There are 5 words here, right? So first let's write that. So how many words exist here? Sorry, let me change the color here. There are 5 words in total. And here how many words? 3, 4, 5, 6 words in total. There are 6 words in. Of course, some words are repeating. That's perfectly okay. Now, what we have done in bag of words here is we have converted. So we have 6 words, right? We have W1, we have W2, W3, W4, W5, and W6. So what is the representation of R1? W1 occurs once, W2 occurs twice, W3 occurs once, W4 does not occur, W5 occurs once, W6 does not occur, right? Similarly, what is the representation? And this is bag of words, right? This is the bag of words representation. Similarly, bag of words representation for R2. So W1 occurs once, W2 occurs once, W3 occurs once, 4 occurs once, wow, 5 occurs once, 6 occurs once, right? So on and so forth. Similarly, we can do it for all the documents or reviews we have. Now, term frequency of any word WI in any review RJ or any document RJ is number of times. I always write number with a hash, right? Number of times WI occurs in RJ by total number of words. Total number of words in RJ, right? So let's take an example, right? So what is term frequency of, let's say, W2 in R1? How many times W2 occurs? From a bag of words, I can quickly see that it occurs 2 times, right? So it is 2 by, how many words occur totally? How many words are there in R1? 5 words. So TF, term frequency of word 2 in R1 is number of times word 2 occurs, which is twice, divided by total number of words. There are 5 words here, right? So this is basically, you can think of it, of course, remember TF of any word, remember TF of any word in any review or document lies between 0 and 1. It always lies between 0 and 1. When something lies between 0 and 1, you can interpret it as a probability, right? Because probability of anything lies between 0 and 1. So basically, term frequency is saying what is the probability of finding a word in a document. If you think about it, of course, our reviews are short. Actually, these techniques of TF, IDF, even bag of words were done actually for information retrieval. So information retrieval is again a sub area of natural language processing. So these techniques of TF, IDF, bag of words are all parts of information retrieval, where the objective is given a bunch of documents. These documents could be web pages, right? Imagine I have billions of web pages and I have a query word, just like Google search. Now I want to find where does this query word occur or query sequence of words occurs. So all of these techniques of bag of words, TF, IDF, all of these were actually first created in the area of information retrieval, which was all about what search engines do, where you have large documents, right? Of course, a document, a web page would have thousands of words, unlike our review. A review might have a few tens of words or maybe a few hundred words. But full-fledged documents on internet search have thousands of words. And these techniques were actually developed in the field of information retrieval, which we're using in our case, right? So a term frequency can be thought of as how often, intuitively, it says how often does WI occur in document or review RJ, right? If it occurs a lot, if it's all the same word, you'll have a TF of 1. If it occurs very few times, it has a very small value, right? And more often a word occurs, the higher its term frequency will be. Okay, the definition of term frequency is very simple, right? Term frequency can be thought of as probability of finding a word WI in a document RJ. That's a probabilistic interpretation of TF. Now let's look at IDF. This is much more interesting. IDF is called, the expansion of IDF is inverse document frequency. Let's understand what this means. Okay, this is very interesting. Imagine I have my reviews R1, R2, R3, so on and so forth, Rn, right? So I have n documents, right? I have capital N documents or reviews, right? So here is the fun part. Let's assume there is a word. So inverse document frequency is always for a word WI in a corpus. Okay, let's think of this as a data set or a corpus. My D, capital D, is a set of all these n reviews. So IDF is always measured for a given word in a corpus. So here my D is basically my set of review 1, review 2, so on, review n. It's a set of all of my corpus. Okay, let's call it DC, which means my data corpus. So IDF is always defined as follows. Let's assume there is a word WI. Let's assume there is a word W1. Okay, let's just call it word W1. Let's assume W1 occurs here. It doesn't occur in R2. It occurs in R3. It occurs in, let's say, R6. Okay, it doesn't occur anywhere else. So IDF of any word WI in a data corpus DC is log of number of words. First, number of words, which is capital N. Sorry, number of documents. Here N is number of, let me write it. Here N is number of documents divided by, okay, small n I. And what is Ni here? Ni is number of documents which contain WI. Okay, so IDF definition has to be very clear. IDF is IDF of a word in a given document corpus. Document corpus is a set of all these reviews that you have or all these documents you have. Is log of log. It's a log. It's your basic logarithm function of capital N, where N is, you have n reviews here, right, or n documents. It is the same n. It's a number of documents, and Ni is the number of documents which contain my WI. Let's understand this. Let's dissect IDF and understand it. IDF of WI in a document corpus DC is log of capital N by Ni. We understand this, right? So let's be very clear. N is the number of documents and Ni is the number of documents containing WI. Now, one thing you'll quickly notice is Ni is always less than equal to capital N, because a word cannot occur in more than total number of documents, right? This is the number of total documents, or the total number of documents, right? So what is log of N by Ni? So let's look at it. Log of N by Ni, right? Because Ni is less than equal to N, right? N by Ni is always greater than equal to 1, right? If you just put this to denominator, this implies that N by Ni is always greater than equal to 1, which means log of N by Ni is always greater than equal to 0, right? Because look at it, log of 1 is 0. Log of anything greater than 0, log of 2, right, is greater than log of 1. So this value is always greater than equal to 0. Now the next question is, can this be equal to 1? When does this value become 1? Right? So let me put this as Ni. Right? It's always greater than equal to 1. Right? So now let's understand log of capital N by Ni. Now the first thing we understood is this IDF is always greater than equal to 0, right? Because this is always greater than equal to 1, right? Because Ni is less than, we just saw it, right? Ni is always less than equal to capital N, which means N by Ni is always greater than equal to 1, which means log of this is always greater than equal to 0. First thing. Second thing, okay, that's the first thing. IDF of any word in any document corpus is always greater than equal to 0. Now if Ni increases, what happens to capital N by Ni? It decreases. Okay, I use this upper arrow to indicate increasing. Okay, if Ni increases, capital N by Ni decreases, right? Because it's inversely proportional, right? Simple. Let's assume N is 1000. Very simple. Let's assume N is 1000. If Ni is, let's say, 1000 by 10, is 1000 by 10 greater or 1000 by 20 greater? Right? 1000 by 10 is greater than 1000 by 220, right? So as denominator increases, this whole thing decreases. If N by Ni decreases, then log of N by Ni also decreases. Because how does log look like? Log is a monotonic function. Log is called a monotonic function. Those of you who have forgotten what a monotonic function is, let me just explain this. A function, let's assume this is x and this is f of x. As x increases, if f of x also increases, right? As x is increasing, f of x is also increasing, right? Similarly, let's assume I have another function, f of fx and g of x. Let's assume this always decreases. As x increases, let's say g decreases. This function is called monotonically increasing. It's called monotonically increasing because as x increases, if f of x increases, right? This is the plot, right? This is a plot of f of x. Let's assume this is the plot of f of x. Such a function is called monotonically increasing function. As x increases, if gx decreases, then gx is called monotonically decreasing function. Is called monotonically decreasing function, right? So log is a monotonically increasing function because as x increases, log of x also increases as long as it's greater than 0, right? So log is a monotonic function, which means as N by Ni decreases, log also decreases. Now those of you who are not convinced, let me just open it for you and show it to you. Okay, Google has this very nice thing called plot. Okay, just see what I'm typing here. If you say plot x, plot log of x, okay, let's see. Okay, so what am I doing here? I'm plotting log x. You can literally say this in Google. That's a fun part. You can say plot log x. So if this is my x, this is my log x. And one thing you'll notice is as x increases, log x is also increasing throughout the whole. Of course, log of negative numbers is not valid and hence you don't see it, right? Log is only valid in the positive numbers. So log of x is only valid when x is greater than 0, right? So only when x is greater than 0, it's a valid value. Now as x increases, you will see that log of x is increasing, right? So and hence as you're changing your x, log of x, so log of x is a monotonic function. So those of you who didn't know about this neat trick about Google search, it's a cool trick. We'll reuse it a lot of times. You just say plot of any function, it will plot this for you. It's a cool trick that I have learned and it's very, very useful, right? So since it's monotonic function, as N by Ni decreases, log of N by Ni also decreases, right? So what are we getting? If a W word is more frequent, that's what it means, right? If a word Ni exists a lot of times. For example, let's take our sentences, right? Let's assume my word Wi is a word like the. The occurs in almost all the reviews once, right? So what happens to the? The occurs so many times, which means the value of the will be close to capital N because it occurs every time. So if Ni is great, is large, what does it mean? It means if Wi is more frequent, because what is more frequent in my corpus? More frequent in my corpus, then the IDF will be lower. So you can think of this as IDF is inversely proportional to. Okay, so I don't want to write it this way. You You can say IDF decreases when Ni increases. And similarly, if Ni decreases, IDF increases. This is a very important property of IDF. So literally what IDF is saying here is, if a word WI is more frequent or it occurs in lots of documents, what does more frequent mean? That it occurs in lots of documents, then its IDF will be low. If WI is a rare word, or a rare term, then its IDF will be higher. Okay, that's a property of IDF. Now let's try to combine TF and IDF. So given a word, so we have again R1, R2, R3, so on and so forth, Rn. We have n documents and each of these have words. Let's say word W1, W3, W2, W4. Similarly, W1, W3, W5, W6. I'm just writing some values here. Bear with me, right? So now your question here is, you want to convert your R1 into a vector, right? That's a task here. Now let's try to convert R1 into a vector. When I try to convert R1 into a vector, again, I have values for each of these, W1, W2, W3, W4, and W5 and W6, right? Sorry. Now, the value that I'll fill here is TF, term frequency of W2. So this is my vector 1. So this is W2, right? I am going to fill the term frequency of W2 in R1, and I'll multiply that with IDF of W2 in my document corpus. And this is my whole document corpus. So I'm going to multiply TF and IDF to build the value here. Earlier, what were we doing here? In bag of words, what did we do? In bag of words, we simply said number of occurrences. We simply put number of occurrences of W2 in R1. That's what we did. Right? In bag of words. In TF IDF, we have this interesting formula. Let's understand why this formula is important, right? So TF IDF is basically multiplication of, so given reviews R1, R2, so on, Rn, right, which is part of my document corpus, TF of any vector Wi in a review Rj, right? The TF IDF is TF multiplied by the IDF of Wi in my document corpus. This becomes, so this is a multiplication. This product becomes, so if you take my vector I, right? Suppose if I have Ri, review Ri, whose corresponding vector is Vi. So let's say you might have review J, sorry, because I'm using review J here, right? In my review J, I'll have an index corresponding to my Wi. In this value, I will put this is for Vj, okay? This is Vj corresponding to Rj. For my review J, again, let me repeat it so that it's clear. Okay, probably I should just write it again. Okay, let's assume I have reviews R1, R2, Rn, and all of them form my data corpus. Now, let's assume I have a review Ri, okay, which I want to convert into a vector Vi. This vector Vi will look like this, right? For this vector Vi, there will be a word Wj for whom I want to find what is the cell value here. The cell value here will be term frequency of Wj, right, in Ri, because I'm computing for review I or document I, multiplied by IDF of Wj in my document corpus. Now let's understand what this multiplication will look like. This multiplied value, this value basically says how often Wj occurs in review I, right? So if Wj occurs very often in Rj, this value will be higher. This value says, when will this value be higher? This value will be higher if Wj is rare in my document corpus. This value will be higher if my Wj is frequently found, is frequent in my review Ri, right? So here, in a nutshell, what we are doing here is, we are giving more weightage to words which are rare in my document corpus, and I'm giving more weightage if that word occurs a lot of times in my review Ri. Okay, that's why it's called inverse document frequency. Because if a word is rare, my inverse document frequency, as the word inverse says, it's going to be higher, right? Here, if a word is more frequent, it's basically term frequency. So TF-IDF is a very, very interesting scheme of things where, so if I take the TF-IDF scheme of things, I give more importance to rarer words, in my corpus, right? Similarly, I give more importance if a word is frequent, in a document or a review in our case, right? This is the nutshell. Now we will see how TF-IDF is super useful actually, but TF-IDF also has its own limitation. It still doesn't take the semantic meaning. Still doesn't take the semantic meaning of words. You remember we looked at words like tasty and delicious, right? We looked at tasty and delicious. They both are synonyms literally. They're almost the same words. Similarly, cheap and affordable. They're very, very similar words. But in our TF-IDF representation also, tasty will be one word, right? And delicious will be another dimension, will be another word corresponding to another dimension. We still haven't solved for semantic meaning, which we will solve using our next very interesting strategy called word2vec.